end. Now, the front end is what we interface with. Example is our browser. Another example is the mobile apps that we interact with. Okay, sometimes when you click on the mobile app and it opens up, you have to sign in. You do quite a number of things, just like pressing a button or clicking a link within the mobile app. Now, those are front end. Those are the things that we interface with on a day-to-day basis. All right. Now, the back end, on the other hand, is what really powers the front end. You don't get to see this because it is the code that makes the front end possible. Whenever you click and it moves to the next link or it gives you a response, that was made possible by the back end, right? Now, front-end developers need to know some technologies, and one of the technologies is HTML, the other one is CSS, and JavaScript. Now, if you know these three very, very in-depth, you are considered a front-end developer. Well, you might not know them in-depth to be able to do one or two things with it in the real world. But for you to really stay at par with everyone in the world, then you should strive to get to know more and more about this. Okay, yes. Okay, you want the soft copy of the slide? We'll make it available to everyone, but it's just something very basic. But then we'll give it to everybody. All right. Now, let's look at HTML. What is HTML? Just a brief introduction. We're still in the introduction phase, guys. HTML is hypertext markup language. Okay. Now, for me, I would say it's more like the structure of a building. All right. So if you want to build a house, for instance, you bring all the blocks, you bring the cement, you bring depending on the kind of structure you want to build, you bring all those together and the building is erected. Okay. Now that's what HTML is like to the web. Okay. Hypertext markup language is more like the structure that the web or any web page at all that you get to visit rides on. All right. CSS, on the other hand, still using the building analogy, right? CSS is more like the painting, the plastering, and several other things that make that house beautiful. Okay, so HTML is what? Hypertext markup language. CSS stands for cascading style sheet. Okay, and like I said, CSS makes the structure very, very beautiful. All right, so we'll go into how the web works. So any questions so far, or anybody, you know, I would love it to be a bit interactive. So anybody has anything to just add, since I know we have people who already have a foundation on HTML. We're starting this as a series to build on it. So if anybody has anything or a question so far, I'll be glad to hear it. If not, let's just say a go. So Faith, can you help me collate some of the questions within the chat? That would be awesome. All right. So I assume there is no question so far, right? Let's go to how the web works. How does the web work really? How do you go into a browser on your system or on your phone or on your laptop or on your iPad and just enter a link and it gives you something? How is that possible? Let's look at some reasons why that is possible. Now, remember our front end, back end case scenario that we just spoke about a while ago. Now, in the front end palace, we'll call that the client. So the browser, the mobile app, the whatever it is, even if it's a standalone application that talks to something and gives you a response, I don't want to call that something yet. That's the client. So the web works in a client server. Okay, so I'm seeing some charts. All right, the web works in a client server scenario where the client talks to the server gives back a response to the client. So when you go to your browser and says www.google.com in the address box or the URL box, what you are saying is, hey, server, I am looking for an address called, or an address or a resource called google.com. Okay, so the server gets that request and it goes into where that particular resource is stored, because in the server, all those things are stored there. So as you're requesting, if there is nothing stored there, it doesn't give you any response. On the other hand, it might give you, hey, a response telling you, hey, I couldn't find that resource, right? But on the whole, you get a response nonetheless, okay? So you can see the way the arrows are, right? The client sends a request to the server sends back response, because it's not a one-way thing. If it's a one-way traffic, then you don't get to see what you see on a daily basis. You know, it's easy when you just pick up your phone or your laptop and you just type and everything comes wow on your screen and you get to see, okay, hey, Google is giving me this result, that result, that result. But this is exactly what's happening in the background. You are requesting, the server goes and looks for that resource, the exact resource that you're looking for. Or if it's on Google, if it's a search engine, the search engine goes and searches for everything related to that request and brings it back to you. So how does the web work? The client and the server talking to each other. The server is talking to the storage space, picking data that corresponds to the request that the client has sent. All right, so now, okay, so example of resources. Because I've been talking about resource, the server goes and picks resources and sends them down. So what are example of resources? I'm sure we have gone into an image repo before, like Pixabay or Pexels. Yeah? Anybody? Hello, guys. I'll be glad if we have responses, right?
Yes.
All right. So, okay, some people have not. I like that. Thank you for that feedback. So, a place like Pexel or Pixabay or Unsplash, once you make a request to that server or that repository of images, it sends you back a ton of images related to the response, the request that you made. So it sends that back to you as a response, and then you can pick your images and download them, right? So that's why you have images as a resource. You have web pages, you have videos, you have audios, you have fonts, you have several other things that can be responses, okay? Resources that the server can send back to you as responses, all right? Now, let's look at this again, okay? I've been talking about this. Basically, the client sends a request, the server brings back a response, and that response comes back in the form of HTML. Can we see that? Hello, can we see this analogy? Yeah? Comes back in the form of HTML. Right. And then the browser renders that HTML. Okay. Well, I don't have a picture of the browser, but let's make do with what we have there. All right. So as you make a request, just a link, the server goes and checks for the resource and sends it back to you as HTML, and then the browser shows it to you. What we call render is just a fancy way of saying the browser is showing to you what you have requested. All right. Okay, so far so good. We're going right in to HTML. Okay, we'll spend the next, let's say, 40 minutes trying to look at what is possible with HTML. Take questions. So just put down your questions, and CSS is not part of this, but there are some things we might not be able to do to show you without adding some custom style. So we're going to see a bit of CSS, a little bit of CSS in this training. Okay, so can somebody raise their hand and tell me what we can do? Basically, so far, what is HTML? What have we picked so far? So just raise your hand in the chat. Great. Promise, can you unmute yourself and then tell us?
Okay, as you said already, HTML simply means hypertext markup language. So this is basically the structure of our web page. So it's more like the backbone of the frame. So that is what I think it is. I don't know if that's okay.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Promise. Who else wants to say something? All right, so thanks, Promise. We'll just go right in. The resource that we're going to be using today is W3 Schools, okay? So we're going to really look at, okay, somebody wants to say something before we go ahead? Yes, Emmanuel, please go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me, right?
Yes.
From what you say to me now, HTML seems to be the foundation of every website.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes,
thanks, Emmanuel. That's awesome. All right, so let's go to, do we all have W3 Schools open?
yes,
everyone? Okay, so I'll just switch to my browser now. And let's see. Okay, so let me stop. Yeah. Yes, so do you have this? You can just go to www.w3schools.com. Some people have the offline version, which is great. And what I'll do is I'll send a zipped file of this to everyone, so you can have it offline. You don't need to go online every time you need it. All right, you can always run it from your system without. The W3 Schools has a lot of resources. A lot. Trust me, if you want to become a full stack developer, if you follow everything within here, W3 Schools gives you all there is that you need to know. Okay, so from HTML to CSS to Bootstrap to SaaS to, graphics. Now, JavaScript, all the JavaScript technologies, jQuery, React, AngularJS, JSON, several of them. I'm not sure they've added Vue.js here yet, not yet. Now on the server side, we have learning SQL, PHP, ASP, Node.js, Raspberry Pi, several things. And then they have Python, they have Java, if you want to learn Java, and then they have C++. And trust me, they recently added AI. All this you can have if the resource is downloaded for you. I'll make sure I download and then send that to us as a link so we can have it on our systems. But for today, we are focusing strictly on HTML. Strictly on HTML. So let's click on that. If you have that on your screen, that would be great so that you follow along as and see what we have. Okay, so we've been saying this, HTML is the basic standard markup language of the web, okay? Everything that we see on the web, everything, whether it is done by programming or it is done by a framework, whether it is, no matter how it is generated, it still comes down to HTML, right? Because the browser only displays HTML if we're talking about the web, okay? So we're going to go into the introduction, click on the tab, just let's follow the tabs together, all right? So what is HTML? We will not go into that anymore. Let's look at the simple structure of HTML. So the first thing I see now is Doctype. All right, this one. Can we all see? Please, if you cannot see, just let me know so that I can increase the size of my browser.
I can see it, sir.
Everyone can see. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so the Doctype. What the Doctype simply means is the Doctype is telling the browser that the kind of document we want to run is HTML. That's why you see it here. Once you have this in your code, the browser understands that this version of HTML that I want to run is HTML5. Before now, the Doctype used to be very long. Some people had memorized it, but it was very difficult for several other people to memorize it. It was very long. You see Doctype with some letters, then the version either 1.0, 2.0, 3, 4, 4.1, but HTML5 changed everything. It changed the game and just gave us a Doctype that was very, very short. So once you see this, just know that the version of HTML you're running is HTML5. I'm not sure, I think most websites have migrated to HTML5, but I'll not be surprised if you go and inspect the website and you see that they're still running HTML4 or 4.1 or HTMLX. All right? So now when we look at what is next, HTML, right? I think it's better we do this in our code editor, okay? I am using Visual Studio Code, and I'm sure we're asked to download Visual Studio Code. Yes?
Yeah.
Everyone?
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Yes,
so that
sir.
we can all be on. Okay, so let's copy
Yes,
that.
sir. Yes, sir.
Let's copy that and then open. I have a folder created on my desktop already. I'll just go and open that folder. Okay, on my desktop. Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, but it looks like my streaming is the system I'm streaming from has a little lag, so let's just hold on a bit. But if you can hear me, just open the folder that you have on the on Visual Studio Code.
Please, Mr. Jordan, I don't understand the folder you said is open. Which folder is that on the Visual
Yeah.
Studio?
Sorry, I didn't hear your question.
So you were saying open a folder on the Visual Studio. I'm trying to understand the folder you're talking about.
Okay, so create a folder on your desktop, right? I'm sorry, my screen will soon come on, all right? I don't know why it's lagging. Maybe it's network. I'm streaming from two different systems. So the one that is sharing is not on. So just hold on a second. But so create a folder either on your desktop or anywhere that you want, all right? And try to open that folder within Visual Studio Code, okay? Let me stop sharing and share it again. All right, can we see it now?
Jonah, we can see VS Code opened.
Yes, yes, so great. So I have opened, so who asked the question concerning the folder? So that I
did.
answer you from here.
Okay, I asked the question.
All right, great. So once you enter Visual Studio Code, all right?
Yeah.
Go to File
Okay.
and Open Folder. All right? Now, by this time, you would have created this folder anywhere you want it to be, all right? Are you following now? Okay, so once you do that, you just select the folder wherever it is. I selected HTML and boom, my folder shows up. So your own screen, hello everyone, your screen might show this on the left hand side, all right? Please don't mind if your screen is showing on the left hand side. I just need better space. That's why I created my own settings this way, all right? So just in case your screen is showing up on the left and mine is on the right, I mean your Explorer now. Don't worry, you're still on track, okay? Now let's all create a file. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
All right.
I can hear you.
Let's all create a file called index.html. Everyone, create a file index.html. Now, so let's take a little teaser. Who knows why we always create a file index.html? Always, always. So let me raise your hand and let me get answers.
I think because the file extension of HTML is .html.
Because
The file extension of a HTML document is .html.
oh, okay. Okay, so I understand the view, I mean, where you're coming from. But that's not the real reason why we always create index. We can call it any other thing. We would have said maybe Jonah.html, right? And it's still a valid HTML, isn't it? So why do we always for production sake, why do we always create an index file? Anyone? Hello? Oh, okay. So let me should I call names? I have very good. That's the reason why I asked us earlier. Thank you, Okwe. You said no idea. All right. So should I pick somebody to answer? You know, sometimes I prefer that it's a physical class. Okay. So thank you, Mohammed. You have given me a response that is very close, but I'll not say it yet. Let me hear somebody else. No idea. Okay. So thanks, Mohammed, for that. Now, once you enter a website, I'm sure we have all entered a website before. All right. Once you enter a website and you go to, let's say, www. I always use Google. Google has an unfair advantage because it comes to mind every time that we're talking about web development. So let's think about something else. www.wowfoundation.com or .org, as the case may be, whether it's .com, .org, so long as it's a website. As you click enter or you click search, all right, what happens is that you are taken to the homepage of that particular website. Remember, a website has several pages, right? Thank you. So once you go to the homepage of that particular website, how did the browser know that it is the homepage that you want to go to? Okay. Why didn't it go to jonah.html like we have here? Okay, it is because all the browsers have been set as a default to look for the index file. Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
All the browsers by default have been set to look for an index file. So if you send a request to the server, all right, and the server is bringing back a response, okay, the response that it went to look for. So remember, okay, and that request goes to the server. The server did not see any particular request
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
be sure that you can hear me. So,
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
all right.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
You can hear you.
All right, great. So we go from here. Thank you for that. We just type, if you're following, let's type a shortcut on Visual Studio Code. So can we all see this now? Remember from W3 schools, what we saw, the basic structure of a web. So everyone, my apologies. My network seems to be somewhat shady. I would crave your indulgence that at any point where you don't understand or you can't hear me, please, I need everyone to come along as we are learning, okay? Or even if it's a refresher for you, let's still follow each other along. So at any point that you cannot hear me, so just let me know, okay? So I'll just go further, all right? Now, this is the basic structure. I'm going to talk about this, all right? Okay, so we've talked about the doc type, and now we're going to talk about HTML. HTML. See this code here, HTML, and then it has something inside. I'm not going to mention the name now. It has something inside that says lang equals.
Hello.
Who knows this? Okay, so everyone.
So
Okay,
this man,
great.
I'm not hearing you, please.
Oh my. Okay, everyone, can we take a 3 minute break? Let me be sure my network is awesome. Is it, do we agree? Everyone, let's take a 3 minutes break and
Okay, sir.
reconvene exactly 3 minutes. Is it okay?
Sir, we agree, sir.
Who can hear me and who cannot?
Sir, we can hear you, sir.
I can hear
No, I'm not hearing.
Okay.
I
Okay.
can hear
So
you.
Any issue?
right. So I have quite a number of people that can hear me, and I have some people who can hear me. Oh, okay, it's breaking. Okay, I'm so sorry. You know what, everyone, let's take 3 minutes. Let me be able to fix my network and then we'll be back. All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, sir.
All right.
Okay, sir.
Faith.
Yes, I'm Jude, I can hear you.
Sorry, let me take 3, fix the network
Okay.
and be back. If Nanya, once we come back, I take as a yes. Thank you, everyone. If Nanya, please take a look at this. But you know how we got here, right? So where you have to open the code editor, Visual Studio Code, right? You have it open, isn't it? Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So if you have the code editor open,
Sorry?
all we did, if you have it open, all we just did was to create a file called index.html
Okay.
within the code editor.
Okay.
All right?
You are saying that to get to index.html, I have to click on create file and then just name it index.html. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. That's
Ah,
exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
okay.
So do that, and please let us know that you're up to speed with what we have on the screen, and then we can continue.
Okay, how do I is it after typing index.html I just click
So
enter?
instead of HTML, just type enter. You will see your file on your left-hand panel.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, have you done that?
Okay.
So I'm sure you've written that sorted out, right? You have your index.html file
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Now I had a shortcut um, creating this file. Let me delete it so that everybody can see. Okay. Now the index.html is as blank as my screen right now. Yeah.
Yes.
If that's a yes, then in Visual Studio Code, there's what we call an extension or yeah, the word is an extension called Emmet. So it helps you complete your code, right? So I do HTML, sorry, go to HTML5, okay, HTML:5, and press enter, and it automatically gives me the code that you are seeing on the screen there. So if Naya and every other person who is struggling to catch up, please do this, and you be sure to be on the same page with what I have on the screen. Every other person, do you have this? Please, I need a response.
Yes.
Yes,
I
sir,
just
we
got
do.
it now. Yes, we
Yes,
do.
I do.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so
Yes,
let's
we
proceed.
do.
Good. So let's proceed. Now, let me separate them very well so that I'll be able to explain them as they are. Okay. So can we see how I separated them? We have the Doctype. I'm not going to talk about the Doctype again. We know what it is. Yes, we do. Right now, HTML is the more like the foundation. Let me call it of the building. Remember your building analogy, right? HTML is the real foundation. Okay. So and it houses everything. So you always should have it there. Okay. I said I'm going to explain what this other thing. Well, it's very self-explanatory. It's just basically the language is English. If I'm going to explain, that's the way it should be. The language we're using for this is what? English. Let me um, yeah, okay. So right, yeah, this is what I wanted. Is it bigger now?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
good. So the head. See this place I'm highlighting.
Yes.
The head section is basically everything that has to do with description of the web page. Okay. Now, the reason why we put descriptions in the web page is okay. So I have a question. What is meta character set? I'll come to that, Abdul. All right. Let me just explain what's in the head. The reason why we have hello, is anybody saying something? Right. So I'll go ahead. Is let me just backtrack a little bit. Okay. HTML houses everything. Yes, that's true, right? HTML
Yes.
houses everything. Now within HTML, we have the header and the body. We have the head and the body. Now, in the head, everything that we do not want, that's like the basic low-level description I will give to it. Everything that we do not want to see in the body should go in the head. Okay? Anything that we do not want to see in the body, simply put. All right, so the body is everything that you see in the browser. Is everybody following?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So if we come to here, we expand it and I type H1 and I say welcome to WAAW HTML class. Okay? And then I save it. All right. Automatically, this displays in the browser. Okay. Why am I putting it in the body section? Why not in the head section? Anyone? So my apologies to everyone who already knows all this. I'm breaking it down like this for several of those who I'm sure would need to learn this. Okay,
Yes,
and that's why
we
I said
understand.
you do, right?
Yes, sir. It's
Thank you
very,
so much.
very.
All right. So yeah, so somebody should answer me. Why am I not putting this H1 in the head
Because we
section?
want it to show. We want it to show on our browser or web page rather.
Thank you so much. Right? If I put it in the head, it doesn't show. But in the body, definitely. So everything that we put, every single element that we put in the body shows in the browser. Now, I have mentioned elements, and I need to mention that very, very early enough so that we understand that everything here is actually an element. Right from HTML, hello everyone, to the head, to the body, they are all elements. Okay? Now, we'll notice that we have head here and we have head here. But the difference is this one has a closing slash. Okay? Now, every element we open must close. Okay? And this is how to write the closing tag. Okay? All of these elements that open from here and then they close with a trailing slash like that. Okay? You can see in the body the same thing. It opens here and it closes here. Now you can see this one too is a HTML closing tag. All right. So same thing with the other elements I just added. That's H1. H1 opens here and you can see that it closes itself right here. So basically it tells you where a particular element ends. Okay. So everyone, Ope, if Naya, are you following?
Yes, we're following.
Great.
Yes, sir.
All right. So you might want to ask, what's the meaning of all these in the head then? If you say they do not show in the browser, why are they there? All right. Somebody's asking that, isn't it? So let me begin with meta character set. Okay. This first one here is called okay, so in your mind, you're already asking it. Great. This is called metadata. Everything that you see meta here, every one of them that you see meta, they're called metadata. They're basically like description of your page, and each one of them tells the browser something. Okay, do you understand? The first one there tells the browser that the character set that you want to encode whatever it is that you have in the web page should be UTF-8. Now, there are several encoding character sets available. We'll not go into that today, okay? Just know that when you have this there, okay, we are telling the browser specifically that we use UTF-8 as our character set, okay? Same thing with the other ones there that you are seeing there. Now, one particular thing I want us to note about this is very, very important, is this is what makes your website or your web page responsive by default. Okay? Hello, everyone. The reason why you go and visit a web page, and even if they don't, whoever developed it did not do anything for mobile, okay? If you do it on a mobile page, some of the elements will shrink by default. Okay, before now, it didn't used to be like that. Now, this line makes it possible. And that's why you should always have it there, this line. Okay, it's called the meta name, excuse me, viewport. Then the content is width, and that width specifies the device width. So once the browser sees this, any device that you visit that page in, it shrinks the web page to the width of the screen of that device. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is very important. Remember I said meta viewport, meta character set, meta HTTP equiv, and all that. They are very, very important. So you put them there, all right? So now we'll just put a title to this. This title shows up somewhere. Who can tell me?
On the title bar on our browser.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It shows up on the title bar, all right? Now let's quit all this showing you code and all that. Let's, as minimal as this is, let's see it on the browser, okay? So how do we do that? For me, I can just go to the browser and then let's do it this way. I just go to the browser and just bring in this code. But in Visual Studio Code, we have what we call Live Server. How many of you have installed it? Everyone? Have we installed it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just click on your live server. It should be you'll see a go live on the bottom right of your Visual Studio Code if you have installed it. I don't know why mine is not working.
Should we click on the go?
So instead of waiting for that, I'll just go to where my folder is and just click on my, all right. Let me keep it open. So I'm using Linux. If my screen is a bit strange from you. Okay. All right. So can we see my screen? Hello, everyone. You can see my screen?
Yes, I can see it, sir.
Sir, where did you
Good.
go to?
Now the thing is, my screen is blank, isn't it?
I can see it's blank, yeah.
Yeah, my screen is blank, but yours had
It's
something.
very blank.
The reason why my screen is blank is that I am working from the other file that I created. I wasn't working from the index file. Okay, see, my index file is blank also. Okay. So I'm going back in, and then I'll put all the code that we just have here into my index file. Okay, all I'll need to do is just copy. Just copy. I'm sorry, I'm having a lag. I'm sure I'm editing my code right now, but you might not be able to see it. So now, if I go back, can you see it now?
Yes, we can.
So you can also see that on the title bar, right? Up here, you can see that title that we added to it, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Now that's the only thing that shows up in the browser that is contained in the head section, okay?
So what did you say, sir?
So I said, were you able to see this title, HTML training, in the browser?
Yes, sir.
Did you hear me? So this is the only thing that shows up in the browser, but it doesn't show up in the body section. It shows up in the title. All right? Understood?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's just go ahead. Let's go back to Visual Studio. W3 Schools. We can move in very quick on this. Sorry, let me share not an individual, but a desktop. Good. Let me share this now. Right. So this is basically what we did. Okay. But for them, they didn't have so much other than the title in the okay? But we have explained much more of the things that go into the head section. Okay. So we will not do editors because we're using one already. So let's move away from introduction and go basically we'll go straight into elements. So click on element, everyone.
Excuse me, sir. Sorry, please. I want to take you back a please.
Okay.
Yeah, please, I don't know how you got from your VS Code to your browser, please. I've not been able to do that, please.
Okay. Thank you for that question. All right. Let's from here. All of us are using Windows, right? Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we are.
Great. I am using Linux, so your screen might be better. I mean, different from mine. Now, once you have saved this file, make sure that what you're working on here is saved. Okay, Control S, or you go to File and Save. All right. Now, once that is done, you go to the folder where you created this document. Remember, we actually brought in the folder here. True? Is that true? Did you bring in a folder?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'm talking about to the person.
Yes, I did.
So, sir, which of the folder precisely? The HTML class?
Yes, that HTML class folder where you created an index file. All right.
Yes, yes.
So you can go back to that folder. Okay. For me, the folder is here. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can see, sir.
Right. Now, from that folder, just double click on the index file. Here, this index file. When I click on it and open, but you can just double click on it and it will open your document. Please do that and let me know. It should open and you will see this.
Yes, sir. Gotten it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, so let's proceed. So remember I gave you a little talk about HTML elements, right? So let's break them down a bit further. Right? HTML tag name. Okay. Can we see? Who can tell me what this means? The tag name here is basically
Angle brackets.
Thank you. So angle brackets. You don't just come and type H1 or P as the case may be. You can see that we actually have them inside an angle bracket. Okay. So this tag name here can be replaced with whichever element you want to use. So just for an example, they have H1 here and they have P here. Okay, all of them are surrounded by angle brackets. And if we go down, you will see how they give a few other examples. You can see they have BR here. Now, just to emphasize, the HTML element is everything from the start tag to the end tag. Okay, what they are saying is an element is everything from here all the way to here. Okay, everything from the start tag to the end tag forms an element. Okay, so if we want to refer to this as an H1 element, we say everything here, H1 element. Okay, we want to refer this, we say everything here is the P element. Right. So that's the basic thing about elements. But just to mention this, they are what we call nested elements. Okay, nested elements. So HTML elements can be nested. This means that elements can contain other elements. Okay, you can see the example they have here. This is the example that we have here. Let's go back to Visual Studio Code. HTML is the parent or the foundation element. Everything is nested inside of it. The head is nested inside of HTML. The body is nested inside of HTML. Okay, so nesting also shows the hierarchy when you are coming to refer to them, and that would happen in CSS. If you're going to refer to a particular element inside another element, you have to talk first of all to the parent element before you reach the child element. You will see the importance of nesting when you get to CSS. Okay, but nesting also helps in the visual outlook of your code. For instance, check our code and check the code of W3 schools. Okay. Well, I can say it is nested, but it's not properly visualized. Okay. If we're going to see this, this is supposed to be indented inside a little bit to show the nesting better. All right. But I mean, that's what nesting is. A code inside another code. All right. So I'm going to talk about attributes next, but does anybody have any question about elements? All right, elements and element nesting. Element is just basically anything within your code, beginning from the starting tag to the end tag. That's what we call an element. Now, as you grow, you will get to use JavaScript to talk to the elements within your HTML code. Now, if these elements, especially when we come to nesting and all, these elements are not properly named or not properly nested, you will have problems in the future. And that's why I'm talking about nesting is very, very important. Talking about having a full idea of what an element should look like is very important. Now they say the for example, the following examples contain 4 elements: HTML, body, H1, and P tag. All of this are nested. All right. If there is no question, I had to recap because I didn't see anybody asking any question. If there's no question, let's go straight to attributes. Okay. Anybody confused so far? Or are we all following? Can I get a yes or a no?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir, we are following. So, but I want to ask,
Thank you.
what is the effect of non-nesting? What is the effect of non-nesting on your elements?
Yes, we are all following.
All right. Okay, so what is the effect of not nesting your elements? Right?
Yes.
So there are times where, I mean, if you don't nest your elements and that is what you want to do, that's perfectly fine. Okay, it actually depends on what you want to achieve, and we'll get to see that very soon. Okay, if an element must be contained in another element in the real sense of what you want to achieve with your project, you have to nest them. Okay, but if what you want to achieve does not require nesting, there is no issue, there's no law compelling you to nest them. All right, does that explain it a little bit? You're going to see nesting a whole lot, so don't let it bother you. Okay, there are times where you have to, in fact, some HTML elements it is required for them to be nested, and you'll get to see that very soon. Okay. I hope you are answered.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Right. So attributes. Basically, attributes provide additional information to HTML documents or HTML elements. All right. So each of the elements can have an attribute. It's like saying the dog is white. And then you move around and then you see another dog that is red. Okay, but there's something common to them. They are dogs, right? What differentiates them is their attributes. Okay, are we getting the picture?
Yes, sir.
Two people are walking on the street and they have their dogs, and then one's dog is white, one's dog is red or another color. What differentiates them is the attributes. And then we're going to see HTML attributes, right? All HTML attributes can have, all HTML elements can have attributes. Okay. I love that word, can have. All right, not must have. Okay. That's very important for you to note, because there are HTML elements that can still get by without having an attribute. All right. What the attribute do, what they do is they help you give additional task to an element. And we're going to be seeing that much more a little bit. Now, there are tags that must have attributes. I hope you understand that I'm not contradicting myself, all right? Does anybody think I'm contradicting myself? So that I can go back a bit and explain it. I said HTML elements can have attributes, not must have attributes. Then just coming down a little bit, I now said some HTML elements must have attributes. The reason they must have attributes is so that they can actually function the way they are designed to. All right, and now the very first example of an HTML element that should have an attribute is href. Let's look at it a little bit. See this example here. Href is an attribute. Let's go back a bit into the code, build that foundation from here. Remember this? Do we remember?
Yes, sir.
All right. So the language attribute, I said I was not going to call it earlier, but now I'm giving it a name. This, our HTML, is taking a language attribute. This HTML element here is taking in a language attribute. Notice that the attribute is placed right inside the angle bracket, not outside it. Hello, everyone. So notice this.
Yes, sir.
Yes, any question? I said notice that the language attribute is inside the angle bracket and not outside it. So every attribute, now not just this language attribute, every attribute has a name, an equal sign, and then quotation, then the attribute inside it. Okay? Name, then whatever it is that is there. All right? This is the format for every attribute. Okay? The name, an equal sign, and then whatever that attribute is. Now, for this, you can see this is the name, right? The name shows me the kind of attribute it is. Then the equal sign, then the value. Let me put this as value. Okay? Value. All right? The value here tells me that this language is English. Now, I can put FR here. If I put FR here, there, what does it mean?
French.
French.
Thank you. French.
French.
Not in French. We'll go back to English.
French,
right?
French.
Thank you. It shows me that everyone is following. I'm glad. Okay, so we'll go back to English. Now that's
Yes, sir.
of an attribute. Okay, I brought this back so that we understand that we already have been dealing with attributes in our code, but I didn't mention it earlier, okay, until now. Now let's come back here. So now we have another tag that I want to introduce to us, and we're going to be introducing it later, but I mean talking about it in depth later, but let's just introduce it here. So since we're online, let's just copy it, take it to our code. All right, so I'll paste it here. You can see it. Okay. All right, so is promise here.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what this element is?
Which one, please?
The one I just added.
The href.
Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
It's a redirection. Actually, it redirects one page to another. That's what it's all about, connection of a page to another.
Right.
Can you hear
Great.
me, sir?
Great. That's great.
Okay, sir.
Now, can you mute if anybody that is not really speaking, just mute. That would be awesome. All right. So this element, like he has said, what it is primarily a link. Okay. So when you go to a web page and you see a particular place where that is clickable, and you click it and it takes you somewhere else, which is what he's saying, redirecting you somewhere else, then that is a link, right? And the attributes that we have there is what? href. Okay? Yes. So this href is the attribute. Can we see that it follows our convention? Remember the convention? What's the convention? Name, equal sign,
quotation mark, and value.
And then the value, right? Can we see that it follows our convention? The convention here is the name of this attribute is what? href. And then we have an equal sign, and then quotation marks, okay? Then the value is what is here. And this value has to be a what? A URL. You know what a URL is? A uniform resource locator. That's the full meaning of URL, okay? Now, this URL will definitely take you somewhere. In this case, it's going to take you to W3 schools, okay? So let's test this out. Let's save it, go to your browser, and let's see how this works. And then we'll confirm that we have actually talked about attributes, and we'll visualize how they are. Oh, you can see that my convention is showing up in the browser, isn't it? So I'll just go and delete that. Well, there's no need, I'll delete it later. But can we see there's a link there now? Can we see that?
Yes.
If I click this link, it will take me, because that's the attribute, that's it done. If I click this link, it will take me to the W3 schools. So let's watch. So we move, and then we've moved from our site, and we're now in W3 schools. Can you see? So if we click back, we can go back to our.
Yes, sir.
Can go back now to our website, right? Now that's a link. We're going to talk about it in depth later today. Our time is way spent, and I don't know how we're going to do, whether we're going to have a follow-up class or something. But I'm going to tell you, wherever we stop today, just be sure that you get the link to the W3 schools offline version that I'm going to send so that you have it. And I'm going to give my details so I can be on WhatsApp for anybody who has questions and all to ask me, because I know at the rate we're going, trust me, we're not going to be able to finish a lot that I had planned. All right, but nonetheless, I'm sure that we're following so far. Everyone.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, in let's go back to the military schools. Now we understand attributes, right? A bit. We now have a formula for our attributes. Who can tell me the formula so that I'm sure that we're following?
The name.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
The name. An
Okay.
equal to sign. Then
Yes.
the value in quotation mark.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's
Thank
it.
you.
That's inside the tag. Yeah.
Awesome. But every attribute, it follows that, let me call it a formula, right? Now, if you go down, you will see several attributes. You can see an image. Image usually have a source attribute. I'm glad that we're using attribute to tackle some of these elements that we're going to treat much later, okay? So even if we don't get to treat them, you really have an idea. So let's copy this image with the source attribute. Copy this code into your code editor, all right? So everybody do that. Okay, so let me explain this now. Do we have that now on our code editor? Everybody, do we have let me bring this up this way. Sorry. So do we have something like this on in our code editor now? The image with the source attribute. You can see that the attribute has changed, or the attribute has changed, but the formula is the same. All right. This is a totally different attribute, but it follows the same convention. So what element is this? Somebody.
The one you just brought.
Image.
Yes, the one I just brought.
It's image.
Image. Thank you. Thank you. This is how you put in an image into your document. Okay, and we're going to see it very soon. I'm sure I have an image somewhere. Let me go to my desktop and pick one image. So just everybody do that. The way I'm going to my desktop, bringing in an image into that folder where you have your index file. Go and carry any image that you want to display, and then bring it into that folder. Okay, copy it into that folder. Everybody should do that. I'm going to do the same right now. I think I have an image of myself on the desktop. Yes, I'll just do that. Copy. Copy and take it to this folder. Paste it here. Great. All right. Thank you. Thank you for. Thank you so much for doing that. I'm getting responses from the chat and I'm super excited. Okay. So once you've copied the image, just go back and rename this value here. All right. Now take into consideration the file extension of your image. Okay. It might be PNG, it might be JPG, it might be GIF. Okay. Take into cognizance the file extension. All right. So now my own image is just on a .jpg. Okay. And then I save it. Now, because my image is inside the same folder, all right, it automatically picks that image and send. Thank you very much for that question. All right. Somebody asked a question, and I was going to come to that. I was going to ask us, but I'm glad somebody else has asked that question. And the question is, why is it that an image tag does not have? Did anybody notice it? Image tag is not like the rest. It doesn't open and close.
Yes, sir, we did.
You noticed it, right?
Yes.
So, there are some tags that do not open and close. I was going to come to that. There are just a few of them though, but we're going to see them much later. They are called self-closing tags. What did I say?
Self-closing tag.
Exactly. So they just open. It's just one basic tag, and they close by themselves. So you don't have to worry that this one does not have a closing tag. No. Like for the image, the reason why I feel it doesn't need a closing tag is because everything is happening within this tag here. So there's no need closing it. Whereas for this one, okay, the link is affecting this particular text here. So you need to close it. Any tag that any element that you have to put in values in the middle to display on the browser has to close. Do you understand? It must have a closing tag. All right. So does that explain self-closing tags? There are some elements that are self-closing tags. So let's go to the browser. If you have renamed your source, remember the source attribute? If you have renamed it to the image, the name of the image that you have in your folder, then let's go and view it in the browser. Okay, can we go now? Yes. So in our browser, I'll just refresh and I'm sure I'll get the image here. So can we see that? That's a picture of me. That's the only picture I have on the desktop. So, all right, but I'm sure we can all see our images like that, isn't it?
So sorry, please. I refreshed my browser. My image is not showing. The image is not showing, but there's a sign of image there.
There's a sign of image there. So yours is something like, let me see. Let's see.
Like a corrupted file.
Yeah, like a corrupted file. Yes. Something like this, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So one of the things the reason why I said we should bring the image. Did you bring the image into the same folder? Look at my screen. The image I brought, I took it and brought it into the folder that we're working on. Because it has to be a real file, right? Not just a link. Well, I'm going to come to a link, all right? You can actually link images online. So let's say you go and pick an image on Google, for instance, and you just copy the image address and you put there. Now that's an image that is online, all right? But if you're looking at images that you have on your system, and that's why I wanted us to start with it, okay? We're going to deal with that. So let's locate your issue. Let's debug the bug that you have, all right? Do you have an image in your folder?
Yes, sir. The image, but the image is not showing. It's still showing as a file on my folder.
But is it showing if you open it in your system? Does it show normally?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what's the file extension on the image?
The file extension, just the last, the 3 letters after a dot.
Yeah. Thank you, Susan. I'm grateful.
You're doing good. Well done.
Thank you. So, do you know the file extension now? Hello.
Yeah, I'm here, sir.
All right. Okay, you've not seen it. All
No,
right.
sir.
Look at this. Right. Let me increase the view of this folder so that okay. So can you see this?
Okay, all right.
See this image here, right?
Yes, sir.
The name of this file is honor. All right.
Yes,
But
sir.
there is a dot after honor, after the H. Okay. Now,
Yes, sir.
after that dot, there are 3 characters: J, P, and G. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Some images have it as P, N, and G. Other images have it as G, I, F. Okay. So, what is the extension of your own image? Then some other images have it as JPEG. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What's yours?
It's still on JPEG, JPG.
JPG. Great.
Yes, sir.
All right. So that's it. The file extension is not the issue. Now, let's go to the code. So 2 things now. The image is in your folder. Yes.
Yes, sir.
And the file is, what's the name of the file? Tell me.
Index.
No. The name of the image.
Okay. Yeah, I'll rename it to my name, oche.jpg.
Oche.jpg.
Yes, sir.
Good. So save that and make sure it is like this. Yeah. Oche.jpg. All right. Is it like this?
Yes, sir.
Great. So make sure it's like that and save it and then go and view it in your browser. So do we have that?
Yes, sir. Thank you,
You can
sir.
see the image now, right?
Yes. Thank you.
Right. Thank you for that. So everyone, so we're still dealing with attributes, but I'm using attributes to introduce other elements. You can see that I've introduced this element, I've introduced this element. Okay. So let's proceed. One of the things we can notice is that our image and our link, they are all lined up together. All right. Is that true? When we view it in the browser, they're all on the same line. Yes. Is it the same for you?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to use another element, to fix that and then introduce that particular element. All right. There's an element we call divider. Okay. And it's just called the div, like this, div. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'll open it up like this and bring this into it. Can you see how my nesting is going? Remember we talked about nesting earlier, right? The nesting helps your code to look neat and help the next person who is going to be viewing your code to see very clean code. So can we see what I've done now? I have placed them into a divider. And what this divider does is, and by the way, the divider can have attributes and it can still be empty. All right. What it does is it keeps everything in its own container. So without doing anything, just adding this divider, let's go and see what we have in the browser. Can you see now? Did anything change?
Yes, sir, it did.
All right. Now you can see the power of the divider, all right? So what it does is it starts everything on a new line. For this time, we're not going to treat CSS today, sadly, but it's also a plus. I want people to go back and finish up HTML and look at CSS in depth and see how maybe in our next touch point, or for those who reach out to me via email or any other means, we can keep the communication alive, right? Or for those who even come to our Shihaks, the next cohort, we can meet up there. You would see that most of these elements and their attributes can only be beautified with CSS. That's why I say we're not going into CSS today, sadly, but it's also a plus. Learn everything about HTML completely. Else, you would have seen that the divider here looks smaller. The divider for the link looks very small, while the divider for the image looks bigger, right? What happens basically is that the div is shrunken down to the content of that particular element. Okay, now we can see that the size of this image is big, all right? So automatically the div takes that size vertically, all right? The size of this link here is just the size of the characters, right? So the div automatically is that small, okay? So this element, the div element, which is short for divider, basically takes the size by default, takes the size of the display of a particular element. Do we understand that, or should I go back?
Go back, please.
Okay. The divider, this one, right? I'm just trying to explain it a little bit. This divider that I used, and then I put it, it's more like a container. All right, let's look at it as a container. So if I pour water, let's say this A element is water, this other element too is water, okay? The amount of water I pour to a container will depend on the container itself, right? So let's say I have enough water to pour in all the containers, all right? Now, I bring a cup and the cup gets full, and then I bring a bucket and the bucket gets full, all right? This image here is more like the bucket, while this element here that is highlighted, that's this link here, it's small, but I'm sure we can see it in our browser. It's more like the cup, but they are all in containers, right? The divider usually would take the size of the default size of the elements that are inside it. So the size of this image is by default very large. Okay, so the divider takes a large size. The size of this element is very small because it's just characters when you see it in the browser. So the divider takes its size. To help us further, I'm going to do a little bit of inline CSS. We're not going to CSS today, but I'll do a little bit of inline CSS so that you see it. Okay, I'm going to add a background color, and I'll make it black. Oh no, let me not make it black. Let me make it violet blue, and then color should be white or config. All right. You're going to see this better. I'll do the same here. Do the same here, but I'll just change the colors. So here, I'll just make it a bit All right. Color should be black. Oh, I don't actually do any color here, but it doesn't matter. So let's save. I'll go back to the browser and you're going to see something. So can you see? Can you see something here, everyone?
Yep.
The size of the div. Hello. The size of the div is the column that we see there. All right. So the size of the div is the colors that we see there. You can see this green-like color is bigger than this small purple color. All right. That's because I just styled the div to show the differences in size. So the elements that are inside a div by default give the div its size. Do we get it now? Hello?
We do. I don't know if they do.
Yes, so I need to be sure that everyone does. All right, so we'll move forward from there. All right. So there are several other attributes, and I want us to go. So now talking about size. All right, let's go back to the image, and we'll just do this one, just this one, and for the rest you can look it up by yourself. But let's give this image some smaller size, given the width and height attributes. Now in the image here, we already have an attribute that brought in the image, right? Now let's give it some other attributes. I'm doing this to tell you that an element can have several attributes, not just one. You can see that the formula is the same, isn't it? It has the name, equal sign, quotation, and then the value. Okay. Now, on a normal day, you calculate width in numbers. Okay. So you are not looking at any other thing here. Width and height are calculated in numbers. So for this width, I can say, let's say 120 to reduce the size. And as I reduce the size, you will see that automatically the div takes the size of this, except if I go and change the attribute of the div. That's the style attribute of the div. Now, what I did here is also, it's CSS, but it is HTML too. And it is attributes. Okay, we can see that it has style, name of the attribute, equal sign, and then quotation. And this is the quotation. What we have inside the quotation are the values of background color, and it's more like a list of values. You can see they are separated by semicolon. You have a colon here, semicolon closes that. The next attribute like that. Okay, so it is still attributes as far as I'm concerned, but in CSS we call it inline CSS. Okay, so this can still pass for HTML. All right, so I've changed the width attribute. I'll change the height. Maybe the height I'll change it to, I think that is a square. So let it be 120 also. I think that image is a square. So if we do this, you see that the image will shrink. Let's go, we'll save it and go and check it. Let's check it out. As the image shrinks, the div also shrinks its size. Let's do that. Can we see that?
No.
All right. So we can see that the color area is the div. The image is the element inside the div. The color area here is the div. This link is the element inside a div. All right, so let's go further. I have to rush a little bit now so that at least we can finish up at paragraphs or something. I have treated images and I have treated links somehow. I've treated HTML, CSS, which is what I just spoke about right now. But if you go and read it you get better information. And I'd love us to treat tables and lists. Okay, so let's look at headings and paragraphs. We have seen it, but we'll just go briefly into it. Then we'll go and treat tables and lists. Yes, you have a question?
Yes, sir. Sir, all those colors, how do you do it?
The colors here.
How do you do it? How do you do it? Yes, sir.
I don't want to be bothered about that now. Okay, so let me keep it open. Should we treat that now, everyone, so that I know that we have covered HTML styles? Should I
Yes,
touch
sir.
on that?
Yes, sir. You can
Yes, sir.
continue, sir.
All right, thank you, everyone. Okay, so what I did here is I gave the div an attribute. And what attribute is that? Let's look at this code very well, and you will discover that the div now has a style attribute. Look at it, right? Now, in the style attribute, there are several values that you can give to it. Several, in fact, it is so much, and you discover the power of this inline styling. Okay, but it is an attribute. Now, the style that we gave to it here to show the background color, okay, it's called background color, just the way we call it, but you separate it with a hyphen.
G was not meant to be.
Background color, separate it with a hyphen. Then you now give it a value. It can just be blue instead of violet blue. I just put that, yeah. But in Visual Studio Code, once you give a color, you will see this small box here. Can you see that in your own code?
Small box.
Just
No,
give
sir,
a color. Any color. It can be red.
Small box.
It can be red. It can be any color. All right. If you are following, just type the code the way it is.
Oh shit! I know my mistake now again.
Oh, you've seen your mistake. All right, so quickly, just type it exactly the way you see it there on the screen, and then save it and go back to the browser and refresh your browser, and you will see what happens. Then maybe you can ask me questions privately if you still do not understand. But the basic thing I want you to understand is that this style is an attribute. You know, we're just treating attributes. We've not moved away from attribute, right? This style is an attribute, and the attribute of style gives you background color, it gives you color. And the background color is separated by a semicolon, and you end it with a colon so that you can give another style attribute. Okay? Do we understand this, everyone?
Yes, sir.
All right. So do you still have any questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if we do, let's proceed. Once you copy that code and refresh, you'll be able to see something like this. Okay. So let's go to headings. In HTML, we have heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4, heading 5, and heading 6. Okay? 6 headings. So it depends on how you want to use them. Before now, HTML was very strict as to how you use, well, not HTML basically, it's the convention. Google usually would make it very strict for your main heading to be an H1. Okay, but now I think their algorithm is stronger, that they are not so strict anymore. But what these headings do for you is help to categorize your, let's say you're writing an article, for instance. All right. By the way, one of our assignments that we're going to turn in is to write an article. Okay, so now that I'm teaching us headings, you're going to write the article in HTML and you turn it in. Please make sure that you take this as an assignment. Write it down now. Susan, please help me. Let this be a good assignment to turn in, maybe before next week.
Okay.
Right?
All right,
So you're going to write an article, breaking it down into like 2 or 3 headings. Okay, so make sure that you grab this headings explanation very, very well. Now, heading 1 is the main header in a web page. So if you go to several web pages, let's even use where we are right now, W3 Schools. You can see this HTML headings. Can you see this? This is most likely an H1, in heading 1. All right. So several websites have it like that. You see a main heading, okay, then you see some subheadings before you now see paragraphs and all. All right. Yes. So we're going to send the assignment to everyone. All right. So don't just listen, and you will get the assignment after this session. Right. It's actually going to be more than one assignment, not just this one. You get the assignment after the session. Okay, so this is most likely a heading, a H1. Most times we don't use H6, it's too small, but there are instances where people use it. Okay, so just know that in HTML, we have heading 1 all the way to heading 6. All right, a good way to really practice is to go to the Try It Yourself in W3 Schools. Let's use one of them for an example. All right, I'll click on the new tab. Let me go to the new tab, and you can see a good way to practice. Everyone, you can see the H1 that we've been talking about since is actually the main heading. Okay, then we have H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6. All right, and you can see the implementation here. If I change this to H1, all right, H1, and go here and change it to H1, and I just run the code, this H6 will become an H1, right? So basically, this is how you implement headers. No, what you can do to it is to give it a style attribute to either reduce it if it is too big or if it is too small. But like I said, most times what we use is between H1 and H4. In fact, the convention uses between H2 to H4. H1 is just, you can use it just once on your web page, just to capture the main header of the web page. All right, so let's go back here. Paragraphs. All right, you can read all this and understand. Paragraphs, let's go to paragraphs. Yes, and just like the name implies, it is a block of text. Okay, a block of text. You can have several paragraphs. I'm going to a website called Lorem Ipsum. Okay, so I'll do Lorem Ipsum. This website can help you with dummy text, okay? So I'm just going to pick this text here. right? And then take it to, so let's finish talking about, pick it, just, I've copied it. So basically your p tag is just a block of text. So I've shown you header, I've shown you P, all right, which P stands for paragraphs. All you need to do is just add P tags in. Let's do this. I'll say create H2 article article 1, and then P tags, and I'll paste the text that I copied from the browser. You can see that it is so long, but I mean, since you're online, you can just actually go to that website, copy some text, and you're good to go. So I'm ready. Okay. So I just pressed enter at some intervals so that the code is still viewer friendly, right? Now I have this. Let's say this is the title of my article, article 1, and then this is the first paragraph. I can have several paragraphs, okay? All I need to do is just duplicate this, copy and paste the code. Okay, if I save this and we go back, are we following? Am I too fast?
No, sir, we're following.
No, go on. So if I go here and I refresh this, I'm going to have an article. Can we see that? So let's say you want to create a blog or so, and you are going to code it by yourself. Your knowledge of headers and paragraphs and images have given you enough tools to create a blog. So all you just need to do is have a header, have the paragraphs, because when you're writing in paragraphs, right? You're putting down your thoughts. So if it is just a blog that you want to create, yes, once you learn CSS helps you to beautify it. But in the real sense, if I have a blog and I'm going to be doing it by myself, coding it by myself, maybe not using WordPress, whatever it is, if I'm coding it by myself, just using how many elements? The heading element, the image elements to put images at several points in the article, and then the paragraphs, just to capture the several thoughts that you have in several paragraphs, and you're good to go. And you just upload it to a server, and anybody can view your blog. So if you have the next blog, all you just need to do is create another page with another blog post and all. So can we see the application of some of the things that we just learned already? Can you visualize it in your mind?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
So let's look at styles briefly, and then we go to lists and tables. So remember I talked about the style attribute, right? Now we're looking at it in depth. Style attribute has styles such as color, font, size, and many more. Okay, so you can style the font weight, you can style the font size. So even if you have HTML, H1 element, you can still give that H1 element the size of an H2 element, depending on what you want to do. But I'll not do that because I already have H2. I'll just go straight and use H2. But if you have a particular size that all the 6 heading elements do not capture, maybe you want your the size of the particular text to be way bigger than H1 gives you, you can use the size, font size at the sub attribute. I call it sub attribute because this is already an attribute. Okay, can we try that? Let's see what it gives us. It gives us more like a property value pair, right? Let's go into our code so that you understand. Or let me finish it here first. So remember our tag name, then the attribute name, equal sign. Then within this value, our value here is this, right? Our value is broken down into property and value pair. There are two, there'll always be two. The property on the left-hand side of the column, then the value on the right-hand side of the column. And if you're going to have more than one, if it is just one that you're going to have, let's say if it's just this attribute you're going to have, it's okay to skip the semicolon. All right. But if you're going to have an additional property value pair like this, which is allowed, okay, if you're going to have like 2 or 3, which we have, all right, when you look at our code here, we have like 2. Can you see this? Can we all see this?
Yes, sir.
Style attribute, we have background color as the property. Then we have violet blue value.
Value.
Then we have it with a semicolon. Then we have another property value pair here, color as the property and corn silk as the value. Okay, corn silk is a type of color. So can we see that? I can have several others. I can say, okay, now I want this div to carry a width. All right? Width of 40 or 50%. Can you see another property value pair? Width of 50%. Let's see what this does. Okay. If I save this now and go into the browser and refresh, you will see something. Can you see? The width is no longer taking the full width. It's taking 50% of the width. That's for this one. Okay. If we do the same thing for this one, if we do the same thing for this, 50%, right? Something. Let's see. Can you see that? All right, so that's what the style gives you. Okay, style. This is, hello everyone, this is CSS. So let me give you a little introduction to CSS. This is purely CSS, but HTML has it as style attributes. Do you understand? Does anybody have any question on this? Hello?
Yo, I can hear you, sir.
All right. I think all the rest that are there, everybody can just go read it out. There's not much there anymore, and we're good to go. So let's go to lists. Lists. I clicked on link. Let's go to lists. So still using our article as an example, we're going to, let's say you have a list of things that you want to put in your blog post. All right. This is the way to achieve it. List has it is divided into two. We have ordered list and we have unordered list. Ordered list is just you itemizing things one after another with numbers. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. While an ordered list is basically bullet points. Okay. How do we get this into our code? Usually, this is where first nesting comes in. Somebody was asking a question that we have to nest our code, right? I said we're coming to it, right? This is one of the areas where you have to nest, okay? Because an unordered list and well, both of them are differentiated by the nesting. How? An unordered list is UL, while an ordered list is OL. Okay, as you can see here. UL simply just like the acronym is unordered list. OL, ordered list. Okay, so if you don't nest, you will not know the kind of list that you are actually implementing, right? So the browser might be confused as to which kind of list, and even the browser might even render it, but it would not render the kind of list that you want. So we're going to take an unordered list, for instance, and say in our article that, okay, so we have an article here, we've given basically an introduction. Then we go and say, okay, div, and then h3, for instance, and say here is a list of thing tasks or tasks I have to do. And in here, you put in your list. Maybe prepare coffee for grandma. Buy groceries. From the superstore. Then pick up Ellie from school. All right, so let's say now, let's say these are the 3 tasks that I have to do for a whole day. If I view this in the browser now, let me make sure my code is rightly intended. Okay, I view this in the browser and I will see a list of things. Let me see that. So this is H1. Welcome to WAAW HTML classes, H1. Article number 1 is H2. Article number, here is a list of tasks I have to do is H3. Can we see how the size shrinks as we go down, right? So you can see that we have bullet points here of the things that I have to do. So this is how you add lists to your document. Okay, let's say now we want to add a number of things. So hierarchy of people in the office or at home. Let me put the code again and paste here, right? Here is a list of, let's say, staff by hierarchy. Let me put it this way, staff by hierarchy. Oops. All right, so here I can put maybe not names. Let me just put MD, CEO. Here I can say maybe COO or CIO. Then here I can say CMO. All right. So let's leave it that way, and then save. Now, what differentiates this list from the other one? Because we're doing hierarchy, I will do OL. Okay, so that we know that when we see number one, we know that it's the number one person in the company. All right. Number two might be the number two, and all. When we number two, that list is a list of staff by hierarchy. Any questions so far? List is really easy to understand, isn't it? Hello, everyone. Should we go on a break now?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take 15 minutes. Everyone. Susan, is 15 minutes okay, or is it too small?
No, it's left for the house to decide.
Okay, everyone. So let's take a 15 minutes break. Suggestion, and then when we come back, I'll take 2 more tabs, and then we'll close for the day. But I'll leave it for questions and refreshers. Then we'll close. Is 15 minutes okay, or is it too long? Should we take 10?
Please say something. Please say something.
Thank you so much, sir. Really
I think 15 minutes is too long.
Too long, right?
Yeah. Just continue the next 10 minutes we end the class.
Okay, should I just continue and we end it?
Yeah, that would be very good. So that we don't just go on break, and if we go on break, we might not come back.
Yes, I think let's continue, sir. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
So that would be the case.
So I'll just go ahead. I just discovered that our output is getting lower. That's why I'm asking if we need to take a break.
It's normal, I guess.
All right. So let's proceed. So list is very easy to implement and understand as far as I'm concerned. So your list can go as long as possible. All you need to do is keep adding li under the parent, which is ul. Okay, so the parent can either be ul or ol. Ul is used most of the time because a lot of lists, well, most people like bullet points better than numbers. I don't know why. So you find yourself using more ul than ol. In cases where you use ol, yes, please use it. But if you want a list of 100 people, and all you just need to do is increase this 100 times. You increase your li within the ul 100 times. Okay, is that understood? Now let's go to, you can see how nested lists. All right, nested list. Do we understand? Does anybody understand or not understand nested lists? If you don't understand what nested list is, let me see your hand. Then that means we do, right?
Yes.
It means that we can have a list inside a list.
Yes.
All right, thank you for that. It saves our time. So let's go back one tab, tables. This is where we'll draw the curtain today. All right. Now tables is very tricky, and that's why I say we'll draw the curtain here. We'll spend a little bit longer time here. All right. Usually you will see a table like this. In websites, in maybe a place where you have an account and you have to view data of people, you most likely come across tables like this, or even better. I'm not saying they might be like this, but trust me, whatever they used is HTML. Whatever they used to achieve it is HTML and probably CSS. Okay? So how do we define the table in HTML? We define a table using the table tag. And the table tag is just right there before you. It's the table inside an angle bracket. Oh, okay. Hey, guys, I just got feedback that we have Muslims here who will need to go and pray. Is that true? Please respond.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How long should we give you guys? 10 minutes?
So I think my suggestion is the class is ending in about 5 minutes time. Class is
Okay.
recorded. I will be sending the recording
Yeah.
link to everybody. So you just fast forward to that 5 minutes time and then
Is 5 minutes okay for you guys? If that is okay, then let me just quickly finish up in 5 minutes.
It's okay.
Is that okay for you guys? 5 minutes.
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
All right. Thank you so much. My apologies. So we define table. In fact, let's do this very quickly. Go to this simple table template here, copy it, then I will explain each of the elements quickly. Right? Copy it into your code editor rather. Copy it into your code editor and paste it there. Let's paste it. Yes. All right. So I'm going to be very quick now. Let me do this properly. Now you can see that each table has a table header where you have all the columns defined by their headings. Okay, so in this case, it's a table with first name, last name, and age. Okay. Now let's look at this code that we have here. The code says the table will define a style here. Remember this attribute? I don't need to talk about it again. Inside it, we have rows. Every table has rows and columns, right? So the first row is usually the heading row. And then every other row is the data, okay? So if the first row in this table is the table header, you can see within that, you will see TH. So you see here, TR, the next one here, TR, the next one, TR, right? TR stands for table rows, right? I hope we're following. Then here, under the first TR, we're putting TH. TH means table header. And in all these, we are opening and closing the tags, remember, all right? TH means table header. So if I put one table header, two table headers, three table headers, four table headers, it means that I will have 4 columns or 3 columns or 10 columns, depending on the amount of table headers that I put here. Now, the next row has to have a data that corresponds to the table headers. So for instance, the first row here will be the first row in the next line, which is the next table row. And in this case, it's called table data. Table data Jill is the first name, all right? Then Smith in this row is the last name of this person. Then 50 is his age. You continue like that for as many as you want. Let me add my own here so that we see that we didn't just copy and paste it without understanding. Right? Let me add this, and I do this. My name is Jonah, and then honor, and my age. Let's see my age. And let me say, let me go to my age. Very young, small, right? So simple, and we say that Once you go to your browser, you're going to see exactly it. Go to the browser and can you see that? That's the table, isn't it? Now, I don't want it to have a width of 2%. So let's and shrink the table. Right? Let's shrink this table with the width. All right, can we see that? We have a table. You can use styling to change that the table header and all that. We might not be able to enter that. They also change the data to the middle and all because the table headers are in the middle currently. But basically, that's how you achieve a table. The second assignment I would want to give, I'll just leave one assignment, not two assignments. Maybe for those who would interact with me much more, I'll keep giving you assignments until you master what you are doing. But definitely, you will not be able to get everything that you need to get in this session. In fact, if we have a 10-hour session, you will still not get everything in HTML. The things that matter is your diligence to keep learning, and learning as time goes on. So, did we learn something today, everyone? Hello, everybody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm going to put my phone number on this screen. Please, it's my WhatsApp number. Let everything that we talk about, let it just relate to what we're learning. I can take you through the journey. This, but let's keep it to. Let it stick to HTML. Maybe I can do a favor of introducing you to other things, but let's keep it strictly. You know how it is where people give out their phone numbers and then they get bombarded with calls, right? It's not like I don't want calls, right? But so I'll just keep my number here. 0921 And please, I know Susan is going to talk about this. If you have the time, make sure that you register for cohort 24. She has cohort 24. You're going to learn this and many more. And in a short time, you'll be able to create things beyond your imagination. So I just put 100%. All right.
I guess you're good to go.
I'm good to go. They can just while you talk to them, my number is up there. You can WhatsApp me any questions that you have. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate the time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, before we go, what you've learned now, you learn so much more in She Hacks Africa Bootcamp. But before She Hacks Africa Bootcamp, for those of you that already have pre-knowledge of websites, it's just the front end. We are starting our training, UI UX training we are starting it next month. I'll be sending you information on that to your email for you to register for the training. It's back to back, and the average income for UI UX designer, go and check it up. It's really amazing. Learn skills that are worthwhile, learn skills that will fetch you money in and outside Nigeria at the comfort of your home. So that's what we are up to do in WAAW Foundation. We need you sufficient with tech tools that earn money wherever they find themselves in. So I think I'm done. Jonah, do you want to add anything?
All right, everyone. Like I said, right? You don't. Rome was not built in a day, so you're not going to get. For those who are just coming into this learning this, please be diligent and keep learning for the next 4 to 6 weeks. All right, keep your learning on a daily basis. Give yourself a few hours every day, and trust me, you're going to finish up HTML. You chew everything, and you would have even touched CSS. So I said we're going to send you a link containing W3 schools for those who do not have it offline yet. But I mean, you can actually Google online and get offline, type offline version W3 schools, and you might get a link. But if you didn't get it, just reach out to me on WhatsApp, and I'll send the link to you when you go to download it. All right. So that's it from me. Thank you, everyone. Does anybody have something to say?
Okay, I think the afternoon class will just call it a day. To have
So
a
the
long
assignment remains. Just so somebody asked about the assignment. The assignment remains.
Yes.
We're still going to send it to you, but
Okay.
create an article, more like a blog post. Just an article containing everything that you have learned today. So add all the elements. You know, we had a few other elements, right? We have lists and we have tables. So let that blog post carry, it's a real blog post. It might be about something, about anything. It could be a real blog post. Let it contain all the elements that we have talked about today. Then you submit it to my email or the email that sent you correspondence. My email is also there. Just copy me there. All right.
Okay, sir. Yeah, I have a question. Can I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, please. Concerning the class and the assignment, with the materials, like this video record, will it be sent to our email? So it will help us.
Okay, Susan.
I think it's Miss Susan.
You send your YouTube link, so you just click and watch from there.
All right, thank you so much. Then the second question is in reference to the program, the SheAx program concerning the UI UX. Okay, so after the program, is there a chance for job openings or something similar, maybe internship or whatsoever that somebody can enroll for rather?
Yeah, we do refer most of our participants to
Come again.
Okay. And we refer to them. Yes, we do. But it's not a guarantee. It may take 2 months. Depends on
Susan, you're breaking. Did you hear me?
No.
I can hear you clearly now.
Yeah, I think you can hear you. Okay. Or let me just help. Usually, I know after our SheHacks, you're usually added to a group where all at the time we have partnership with several companies who require services of people who have skills that we have trained people on. So if you are qualified, definitely you get an internship role. In fact, they come as time goes on. Sometimes more frequent than other times. But I mean, you are definitely guaranteed if you're in the pool of people who have been trained to get that kind of internship. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much.
Am I in line?
Sir.
Who needs to create? Yes, you have a question. All right. So if no further questions, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much from my end.
End the class for all, I guess, information for all.
Okay. All right.
Oh shit.